Humidist Podcast.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Humidist Podcast once again. I'm your host for today, Steph, and of course with me in the cold seat is none other than Dan Ken.
Good morning, good evening, whatever it is.
Yeah. For us right now, it's very cold good evening.
Yeah.
How you been enjoying the weather?
Not very much. I just worked through the weekend outside the night shift, so...
Oh yeah.
You know. It is what it is. You gotta put on the super underwear, as we call it here in Norway.
Yeah.
Just power through.
And you can also double as a vigilante because you're always ready to go. You have your super suit underneath.
Yeah, I mean, I actually also wear my underpants outside the super suit. So I kind of really fit the bill, you know.
Outside your uniform?
No. No. Okay, for those wondering, I work as a security guard, so that's why I'm wearing a uniform.
Yeah.
But no, not outside the uniform.
That's such a power move, though.
Yeah, it would be.
So many power moves. Speaking of power moves, my boss actually just farted at work today. That was pretty cool. And his excuse was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? If you hear this, that means you're in the friend zone, my friend." I'm like, all right. I am duly honored, sir.
I mean, you shouldn't be.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, today we're actually going to talk about, since Squid Game has been such a huge hit mainstream these days, we figured, because we've been around the block when it comes to Asian influential movies for a while now, and we've seen quite a few movies that have been really powerful and has had like a very strong lasting impact on us as well. So we figured, after seeing Squid Game, and that might be the entry point into, you know, Korean movies, Asian movies for many, and we might just have a couple of recommendations to fit the bill if you're hungry for more.
Yeah, you just want to jump right in.
Yeah, so just a quick thing is that for today we've gathered 4 Korean movies that we think are a must-watch, or at least a very high recommendation if you enjoyed what you saw in Squid Game. So if you want to kick it off, then...
Sure, so my first pick is kind of, I'm not sure if it's a super heavy hitter, and it's kind of not really a heavy movie, you know, but it's Train to Busan, which is a zombie movie, which is, it is as the title says, it's a train ride from, I think it's Seoul to Busan. Starring the guy from Squid Game who recruits people to the game.
Yeah.
So in short, it's about him trying to get his daughter to her mother, and during this train ride, there is a zombie breakout.
Yeah.
And like, first of all, what I do love about this movie is that the zombies run.
Right. So much more scary that way.
Yeah, and they run like, you know, completely unhinged, like just ramming themselves into walls and doors and whatever.
Yeah. Kind of like the Titans in Attack on Titan.
Yeah. Kind of, you know, I think we in the Western audience are pretty used to the Walking Dead type of zombies.
Yeah.
Kind of
for sure.
Slow moving.
Yeah. The classic.
Yeah. And you know, that can be scary, but kind of, if you're a human being of decent stamina, you can usually escape them, you know.
Yeah, usually those movies work the best when there's just like a humongous number of them, and they're like highly contagious, and the main characters are trapped somewhere. But for the fast zombies, I don't know. Yeah, sure, they are scary numbers, but they are scary just by themselves, too.
Yeah, and that's the thing here in Train to Busan, because they are trapped on a train.
Yeah.
And the outbreak is kind of escalating extremely fast. There's like no containment at all. like every station they get to, right? There's just you have to just keep going and going because there's just zombies, right? Everything's going to hell.
Yeah, right.
And obviously, as people who watch some Korean movies will know, there's underlying theme of difference in classes or
Social class.
social class, yeah. So the protagonist is a super wealthy businessman and kind of have to team up with sort of the lower class of people.
Yeah, and they're kind of forced to work out their differences in a survival situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have the baseball kid, right?
Yeah, there's a baseball team, I think.
Yeah.
At first, at least. So you kind of get the classic ragtag group, you know?
Yeah.
And also the very classical, at least for me, Eastern kind of older, kind of upper class people who think they deserve the world, you know, before everyone else. So there's a lot of that going through the movie. I think it's a good zombie movie.
It is, yeah.
It would be an easy entry, I think, to Korean movies. It's a good cast. I can't claim to remember the names of the actors.
We'd probably just butcher them anyway, so...
Yeah. But no, you've seen it, right?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually quite popular because I was studying in Japan at the time it came out. I think it was 2016.
Yeah.
And like among the people I had on Facebook, other students at the school and stuff, the movie was really popular, and a lot of people were saying that it was scary and that it was very intense and that it was just overall a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, me being a horror movie buff, I was like, I have pretty low expectations because zombie movies, there's so many shitty ones for every few good ones, you know?
Yeah.
So, and of course, this usually has a lower budget, and at least in my mind at the time. So my expectations were pretty low, but I watched it with another friend, another Norwegian friend actually, and what I found was a surprisingly solid zombie movie that even just comparing it to, movies like Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead or all of those, it still holds up pretty well. Not quite as good as those, but close, I think, because it told a good story and the zombies were actually scary, or at least they were intense,
Yeah, no, I agree. I do not think it's a scary movie at all.
No.
If you're kind of squeamish and think like looking at zombies is scary, then sure.
Yeah.
But the intense part, I agree.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a little bit more low key, or it's like a 28 Days Later, but with more focus on telling a character story and less focus on the scariness of the zombies and like scary scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, I feel. But if you're a gore hound, like some fans of zombie movies are, then this movie will probably disappoint you a little bit because it's not really that graphic as far as zombie movies go.
No, as far as I remember, it's usually the the classic. You see kind of up until the attack, and then you kind of see the next shot is outside the window, and it's just blood splattered.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
I think they tried to avoid an R rating.
Yeah.
Which it's good. It's good for pulling in mainstream audiences and all that. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what's funny?
Huh?
Yeah, go on.
No, I just wanted to ask you, kind of on a tangent, about Japan. Is like Korean movies or influence big there?
You mean on like people, or
yeah, I mean
their...
like, are they like? Does every Korean movie kind of come out in Japan and in cinemas? Are people like into Korean culture? Are they into like K-pop and whatever?
They are. I don't know too much about Korean movies coming out in Japanese cinema, but the K-pop is huge. It's gigantic.
Yeah,
like it's bigger. It's barely beginning to approach that kind of level in the West.
Yeah, it is.
So the thing is, like, BTS
Mhm.
was one of the first ones that just like made it huge in the West, but before that you had like Twice, 4 Minute, and blah blah blah, Big
Yeah.
Bang, all of those, and I heard those songs a million times, whether I wanted to or not, before BTS was ever a thing, you know. So
Yeah.
it's a huge thing, and I think Korean dramas are more famous than the movies,
Mhm. Mhm.
because the movies we're about to talk about today, except for Train to Busan, weren't really that famous. I don't think because I was actually the one who showed one of my Korean friends the Vengeance trilogy that I'm gonna get into later.
Mm.
So they've heard about it because it's a classic, but they hadn't seen it because it's dark and it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And it sure is, even for us who are like jaded veterans of fucking cynicism or whatever. Insert cool title here. But and it kind of goes to say when a zombie movie is probably the easiest watch
Yeah.
out of all the movies, then it's kind of I think that kind of tells or sets the precedent,
Definitely. I think out of all Korean movies I've seen, the Train to Busan is like the easiest to digest by far.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That one, and probably Parasite is
Yeah.
also,
Yeah, I guess.
even though it has its moments, but it has like some brighter tone
Yeah.
that kind of masks how messed up it can be.
Mhm. Mhm.
And also Parasite, of course, is a great watch, but we're
Yeah.
not going to talk about that one today since it won an Oscar for Best Picture like 2 years ago, so we figured most people know about it.
Yeah.
So
You want to go to your first one?
yeah, so I'm gonna be mainly covering 2 of the Vengeance trilogy today, which I'm gonna start off with the first one, which is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance.
Mhm.
And because like the trilogy is comprised of like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is the first one, came out 2002. Then you have Old Boy, which is probably the most famous Korean movie,
Yeah.
at least among movie buffs and such. It's rated quite highly on IMDb and all that, and a lot of critics praise this movie, and for good reason in my opinion. It is the best one. But it is maybe not as commonly known that Old Boy is actually the second movie in a trilogy, even though the movies are unrelated.
Mhm.
And after that, it was followed by Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, except for the climax scene, the least memorable of the 3.
Mhm.
Because I think we saw it together back when.
Yeah. I honestly, the only thing I remember about this movie is that we saw it together.
Right. Yeah.
I have no memory.
Did we see Old Boy together as well?
No, we haven't.
Okay, but you've seen it, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So, but we did see Mr. Vengeance.
we did, and that one stuck with me.
Yeah, has some pretty interesting scenes. So, the thing about Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is that yes, it is a revenge story,
Mhm.
but it doesn't go the typical way in which the protagonist is done a great injustice to him or her, and then they kind of slowly build themselves up to go on a crusade to take revenge and happy ending. It's not really like that. It's more of realistic take on that, vengeance and violence breed violence, and vengeance just fuels the cycle.
Mhm.
And in this movie, the main character is desperately trying to find a kidney donor for his sister, because if she doesn't find a donor, then she's gonna die very slowly and very painfully.
Yeah.
And he has quite a few money, or like quite a bit of money saved up. So in order to cover at least most of the procedure, but the doctor tells him that there are no donors as of now. He's incompatible, and the chances of actually finding a compatible donor is slim. So what he does is that he goes to the black market to try and acquire a kidney in exchange for his own. or if he just goes there to find one on the black market. At least he gets scammed, he gets drugged, and they just take his money and his kidney and just leave him for dead. And then he's like, this guy's super down on his luck.
Yeah.
And then his very radical political activist girlfriend just tells him like, hey, because this guy has also been recently laid off from his factory by, you guessed it, and a very rich director. Which he comes into play in a very interesting way, because the girlfriend of the main protagonist, she encourages the protagonist to kidnap the director's daughter and hold her for ransom. And that goes about as well as you would expect.
Yeah.
Because the well, I shouldn't spoil too much actually, but you know, this isn't the recipe for a happy story. So essentially, this is a tragedy, and like a lot of unfortunate events happen, and it leads the director to become a secondary protagonist, and they become sort of opposed to each other, and they want, and you know, you have the main character who wants revenge on among other things the black market organ donor people, and then you have the director who wants revenge on the main protagonist because of certain events. And it just keeps going from there. This movie is a rough watch.
Yeah, it seriously hits the fan. Shit seriously hits the fan. It's really snowballs out of all kind of control and proportion.
Yeah. I think when we watched it, I think both of us, when the movie was done, we were just both like, oh boy.
Yeah, yeah.
That was quite the movie. And that is the theme on the remaining, you know, the movies we will talk about now, because all of them kind of leave you with this sense of like, all right, we watched something that was greatly acted. It was a great movie, but it's very tough to watch.
Yeah.
Just emotionally. So you just feel sorry for all the characters, and then they just sometimes they make decisions that just make you feel. You're just like, oh no, don't do that, please.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Now, what I think is it's a brave choice for the director of the movie, or the producer, but the main character is deaf mute, which I think is a really bold choice for the main character, but it really works out here, and it lends itself to a lot of the situations that happen.
Right, because that's also something that is like a recurring theme in at least the movies we've chosen this time, where the main character, or at least one of the main characters, have their communications or like way of communication impaired in some kind of way. That always tend to make things, you know, 1,000 times worse when under normal circumstances it could have been completely avoided by a voice line or two, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This movie is not something you would watch with your family.
No.
Under normal circumstances, probably not on a date either.
No.
The date movie is Train to Busan.
Yeah.
This one, if you like emotionally heavy movies that easily to get invested into, but that also takes a toll on you, like the really hardcore kind of drama, then this movie I think is absolutely worth a watch.
Yeah, it's, you have to be prepared to kind of have a round with yourself after you watch this movie, and to think through things. And what I also, at least I, with very limited knowledge of Korean society, I feel like this could very well happen, probably does happen, or has happened in real life.
Yeah, it's easy to imagine, because another thing that's recurring in all these movies, like you said first, is the whole thing about class, social class, and how it seems often that the people that become sort of the victim of circumstance are of like lower class, like working class in rural areas often. And they tend to, quite often they have to resort to these kind of means because there's just not a system in place to help them.
Yeah.
Which is also a thing that's it's clearly a lot of social commentary here. Such as you also see with Parasite.
Yeah.
That one is probably the most, clear messaged one out of them when it comes to this.
Yeah, I went through the what's it called? Not discography, but photography. I don't know. Like the list of movies that the director of Parasite made.
Yes.
And I think all of them, or at least most of them, are are kind of social commentary on the social class.
Yeah.
Even the American the train movie Snowpiercer
Yeah.
is very much like that.
I mean, that one is kind of like you take the concept on steroids.
Yeah.
It's literally just like the elite live in the front of the train with a luxurious lifestyle, and all the classes below are just, shitty workers living in squalor and doing slave labor. Yeah. Yeah, so which one was your next pick?
It was the one we recently saw, Mother.
Right.
Very much the same as all the Vengeance movies, I would say. Like, obviously not the same plot, but very heavy, very emotionally heavy movie.
Yeah.
It's the movie is about a mother, of course.
Roll credits.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
Yeah, that's all you needed.
No. So the mother in question, her son is okay. To tread carefully here. Can I say mentally developmentally challenged or something? Mentally impaired, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, let's go for that.
Yeah.
The political term for just.
Yeah. So he's not like potato needs like care 24/7, but he's kind of slow, as they would say back in the day.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a delinquent, and his friend gets him into trouble all the time.
Yeah.
So in short, the son ends up in a situation where he potentially has done a crime, but he was drunk, so he can't remember.
I mean, I think you can tell what that crime is, because it happens quite early in the movie.
Yeah, it's so he walks past a place where the day after they find a young woman murdered.
Yeah.
And he has left a clue there, or proof that he was there, in form of a golf ball that he drew his name on.
Yeah. Yeah.
For some like that from something from the intro, which kind of I think sparks the whole thing. So he gets arrested for this, and he says he didn't do it. So the mother goes on a kind of crusade to find him guilty.
No, to find him not guilty.
Yeah, not guilty. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And she's also from the lower class. She has kind of no money. She sells like dried herbs, I think.
Yeah, kind of like alternative medicine and such.
Yeah, and she does illegal acupuncture.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have a license, I think.
Yeah.
So she goes like livid. She does everything in her power to kind of prove that her son didn't do this.
Yeah.
And it takes some pretty dark turns, and some twists that I didn't see coming at all.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And as it does, the line, the moral line kind of gets blurred,
Very blurred.
Yeah,
I'd say.
kind of grossly stepped over.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's also about a movie about, it's a movie about how far a mother could be willing to go for her kids,
Yeah, the unconditional parental love.
Yeah, and yes. And of course, there's some great acting here, especially from the 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 actor playing the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, she is such a standout in this movie.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I know it's hard for like us Western people to kind of differentiate, really differentiate like good from bad acting, like from foreign languages, you know.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is like a major performance.
Yeah, it really seemed like it because I mean we do. If you compare it to, this is a problem that I often find with Japanese movies because a lot of times it's so overacted that it doesn't sell it at all. And of course, this isn't all movies, but quite a few of them, especially the ones that hire, popular people that are like idols that just get forced through some acting lessons as well. That they get hired because they're popular, not because they can actually act.
Yeah.
Those that's the problem I have with stuff like Alice in Borderland, which is also similar to Squid Game, and also Netflix, because the overacting there was so bad at times that I couldn't get immersed. But
yeah.
this one, I mean, the performances here were such that at least I was very, very immersed in what I saw.
I mean, even though we took our time to like have our fun, you know, with as we do when we watch movies.
Yeah, of course.
I was still absolutely immersed the entire time, and
right.
I feel like if you to get the audience to understand if they're not like familiar with the kind of overacting we're talking about, the main character of Squid Game is sort of like that, but I think it fits that character really well.
Yeah.
But if they imagine like if every character in a series or movie was like that, you know, that gets kind of tiring.
It really does. Squid Game is like Squid Game's high points are very high, very great. You know, especially the Marble episode and these kind of character-centric ones were fucking amazing.
The fucking Marble episode. That is to be very close to TV series perfection, I think.
It was. And unfortunately, what follows, at least in my case, was a huge step down from that level of quality. And all the stuff that came after with the VIPs and I don't know. It just, and the ending of Squid Game as well also just kind of broke the arc of the main character. And it was just, I don't know, just didn't do it for me at all.
No.
But here, I feel like everything you see is like a beautiful arc of how fucked up things can get and how shitty things can be.
Yeah. It's definitely a must-watch, I think, if you want to get into Korean movies.
Yeah, Mother is great, and it's by the director of Parasite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one is definitely darker and harder to watch emotionally than Parasite. But you can really see that the director, I think his name is joon-ho.
Yeah.
He's an amazing director, and he really shows that here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so should I just go on to my second pick?
Yeah.
So this is arguably, in my opinion, my favorite of the bunch, but it's also one of the toughest ones to watch. And it's good old boy.
Yeah.
Old boy is such a journey.
Yeah.
Because this one is about a salaryman who gets he's out being drunk, and he suddenly finds himself in a private prison. Not a normal one, but one that kind of looks like half of an apartment with decent standards, for what it is. It has a TV, he has, it doesn't just look like a standard cell, and he gets fed through a hatch in the door. But for no reason, but nobody answers anything he says to them. So he doesn't know who put him there. He doesn't know why or anything. There's no trial, nothing. This is clearly something unsanctioned, And then, he is stuck there for quite a while before he realizes that he's not getting out anytime soon. So he starts finding ways to keep himself sane. And, you know, for example, he shadow boxes just to train himself into becoming capable of going after his attackers when he eventually, if he eventually gets out.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also finds out on the TV that he's also framed for the murder of his own wife, even though he knows that he didn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there are times when he gets gassed, and then while he's asleep from the gas, people come in and shave his hair, his beard, and take away, you know, cut his hair, all of that. And also, they drew blood from him while he was sleeping, he realized, and that's why they managed to plant that on the corpse of the wife to frame him. And then he gets released after 15 years. And this guy has not spoken to anyone or seen anyone other than on the TV for 15 years. And suddenly he's out on the street, he gets a nice suit, and a homeless person just gives him a wallet full of cash and a cell phone, in which someone calls. Turns out it's his attacker, and of course it starts his journey to try and find this attacker. Then he meets this lady who works as a waitress at a Japanese restaurant named Mido, and she also becomes enveloped in this. And of course, eventually the main antagonist tells him that, okay, you have to find me within such and such long time, or because if you find me, catch up to me, I will kill myself, but if you don't, I will kill the girl. And such begins his journey. This movie has so many plot twists and turns and just overall depressing vibe.
Yeah.
Also carried by very strong performances, I believe, especially the main protagonist. He just knocks it out of the park. First, as this guy who hasn't seen anyone in 15 years, how he interacts with people when he gets out. All of this, he starts hallucinating and stuff as well when he is in the prison, and as such, you know, you always kind of find him questioning if he's actually schizophrenic, or if he's, you know, is this actually happening, or does he just believe it's happening?
Yeah.
It's a rough watch, and it has some unexpectedly great fight scenes as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think one of the most famous ones is the one where he's just fighting a corridor just filled with bad guys, and you kind of see they split the corridor in half along the what do you call that, you just split the corridor in two, and you see, like, from the side, and you just see him walk through the entire corridor and just fight his way through people, and it's all one take.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, if you watch Netflix Daredevil, there's a hallway fight scene there as well, which was heavily inspired by it.
Yeah, I think I've seen quite a few, actually, scenes like that. All I would think is inspired by Oldboy.
Yeah, and there's just this quote about, like, him doing internal monologue before this fight scene happens, because at first he just picks a fight with this group of delinquents, and he's just like, so I was wondering if 15 years of shadow boxing would actually make you any sort of good at fighting. And then he just, like, beats the shit out of him. It's like, yeah, turns out it does.
Yeah. No, this it's one hell of a movie.
Yeah. So what stood out to you in this movie, though?
I mean, it's been a long time since I saw it. I think I've seen it twice. First time, kind of, I think pretty early on, as it had its release here. So I was pretty young, probably sort of damaging. What stood out, I think I can't remember, like, specifics. I think it's just the movie as a whole. 'Cause it is such a crazy, journey he's on. Just the plot itself is, like, not something you usually see in a movie.
Right.
And there's there is a gore part, which I can't for the life of me watch. I'm not gonna spoil it. But,
is it the torture scene?
No, there is. It involves a part of mouth gets cut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Then yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh my god, yes.
Like I think I'm 99% immune to gore and bodily mutilations and stuff.
Mhm.
But that part, it fucks me up really hard. Like,
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, there's a very sad background for this scene as well, but it also sort of makes sense. But it's a horrible scene. But also, just the twist, the main twist in this movie is what really fucked me over. Because there's a scene as this, as this twist happens, you also get to show, like, what they show on screen right after, it just puts a whole new perspective on the whole thing, and it makes it 10 times worse. And I've never felt, I mean, it's very rare that I feel that sorry for characters in a movie.
Yeah.
But holy shit. And don't expect any sort of lightheartedness or moments of emotional respite in this movie.
No,
It's-
you should
yeah.
expect to be disgusted several times, I think.
Yeah, disgusted, but in a good way. It's kind of weird, but the movie is like greatly written. It's, the actors are great. Everything about it is stellar. It's a knockout product of a movie.
Yeah.
The direction is amazing. It has some very creative shots, like the one we mentioned about the hallway. And you don't really expect it in this kind of movie either, because it sets a tone and expectation for something different that it turns out not to be.
Yeah.
And all your notions of a classical hero's revenge journey, everything, like, don't expect anything other than just to have your emotions obliterated.
Yeah.
But it's a 10 out of 10 movie though, and I highly recommend it. Do not, under any circumstances, watch the 2013 remake with Josh Brolin.
No.
Josh Brolin is a great actor, but this movie is just no.
Like, in general, do not watch Western remakes of Eastern movies. I mean, there's probably some good ones, but as a rule of thumb, is that what you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, this movie is rough, and it's very hard to talk about it without going into any kind of spoilers.
Yeah.
So, but we've tried to just keep it as spoiler-free as we can without, while at the same time trying to just at least pitch the premise of the plots here. And all I can say is, especially Oldboy, I mean, if you like what you saw in Squid Game and you're not squeamish, you are a resilient watcher, then, you should challenge yourself to watch these movies. So to recap, we got Train to Busan, the easiest watch of them all.
Yeah.
Then we got Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. But actually, in order of what you should watch first, or when to push yourself in order of like intensity or like difficulty to watch, probably Train to Busan is the easiest.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I would say Mother.
Yeah.
Because that was, it's mostly sad,
Yeah, true. It's not too graphic either, even though there are some scenes that are a little bit explicit, but most of the time they just imply what happens instead of actually showing it. Then it's a toss-up between Mr. Vengeance and Oldboy, because Mr. Vengeance has some pretty gnarly scenes in it of gore and mutilation as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like Mr. Vengeance has a little bit more scenes that are a little bit more lighthearted. Well, Oldboy is just all fucked up.
Yeah.
So, and it's violent, and it's gory, and it's probably Oldboy's probably the best movie out of them, but it's also the most difficult to watch. So if you,
I think I need to rewatch Oldboy now.
Yeah, I saw quite a few of the scenes, the iconic scenes leading up to this podcast, and man, some of them it wasn't really a happy trip down memory lane.
No.
But I was also reminded of like why this movie stood out so much to me. We also have different experiences with Japanese movies as well. We've seen quite a few of them.
Yeah, mostly, at least I think almost every Japanese movie I've seen is an anime live action adaptation.
True.
Yeah.
We've seen quite a few of those, and there are, surprisingly, not all of them are trash. There are quite a few that work pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
We probably should talk about that in another episode as well.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, with that said, if you like this kind of podcast, then please show your support by liking and subscribing, and give us some feedback. Let us know if you've seen some Korean movies that you recommend to us and the others. And of course, I think that's it. Stay humid.
Stay dank.